What's going on, Guthrie? Craig Kuriokis here with another monthly market update. Guys, I do these market updates because I hope they bring you some value and help shed some light on what the real estate market is doing right here in Guthrie. So for the month of March, and I'm going to be talking about March's numbers here. April hasn't updated yet, and I pull these numbers straight out of the MLS. So in March, the average sales price was $230,000 right here in Guthrie. There were 51 new homes listed for sale and 39 closed sales right here in Guthrie. Days on market, there's kind of a big shift here. So last year, this time, the average days on market was 7, which showed very high demand. These homes were turning over very quickly. For the month of March, the average days on market actually went up to 21. Now, I had to do a little bit of homework just to see what exactly was going on with that number. And what I found is there's a few homes that have been sitting on the market for quite a long time, or at least some homes that were on the market for a long time. And that could have been because maybe they were a little overpriced, or they were at the top of the market, or they were just kind of nichey, and you had to find the right buyer for them. And so those homes really affected the entire Guthrie market because we just don't have that much volume here. So I think otherwise, homes are still turning over very quickly. In fact, a good indicator of that is this number here, shows to pending. So last year at this time, there were 7 showings on average until a house went under contract. And in March, it was 4.5. So 4.5 showings on average until the house went pending. I think what that tells me is that there's still an incredible amount of buyer demand, despite high prices and everything right now that's going on with rising interest rates, which, by the way, I should definitely chime in on that. It's definitely worth noting the Fed has been quietly raising rates since December. I think in December, the average rate was right about 3.1, 3.11, I think is the number. And today they're over 5%. In fact, they're almost 5 1/8. What that means for you is if you're buying, what it means is the average $250,000 house in Guthrie is now going to cost you about $250 more per month. So, if you're a seller, what that means is some buyers are going to be priced out of the market. They just simply can't afford the home that they would want to buy, or the square footage that they need. It's that's basic math. And so there will be some people that are forced to be put on the sidelines. But guys, I can tell you this. There's so much demand and pent up buyer demand in Logan County, Guthrie specifically, that I don't think these prices are going anywhere anytime soon. I also don't think the demand is going anywhere anytime soon. I don't believe we're in a bubble. I think we're at the top of the market in terms of price. I don't think we're going to see a lot of growth in terms of price over the next year, simply because we're at the top. We can't really go much higher. Some buyers I'm seeing on their pre-qualifications, they're putting offers in at the top of their price range or the top of their budget. And as you know, that's not always the smartest thing to do in this market. It might be what you have to do to get the house that you want, but you always want to come in, about 80, 85% of that total budget, just to give yourself some breathing room. But guys, a couple more numbers I want to show you real quick. So price per foot is another good number to look at. Helps you do some basic math to understand what your home's value could be. This time last year, the average price per foot was $124. Today, or rather in March, that number is $140. So a substantial increase in terms of price per square foot. Now, that's going to vary depending on the neighborhood, the side of town, the age of the home, the updates the home has, things like that. But I'll share a really cool story. I had a house recently in a nice neighborhood that I was able to sell without even listing it. We just had the buyers, the sellers wanted a quick, easy sale, and we just connected the dots. We brought them 2 offers though. So it was interesting to see those offers. We were talking about selling the house for about $260,000. We were able to bring one offer for the ask price, $260, and another for $270. What was interesting and worth noting is that the sellers ended up going with the offer for $260,000. So what I'm trying to convey is that it's not always about the price. Sometimes it's about the bottom line, and the bottom line is your terms. So what made the difference for these sellers is the terms. And one of the things that I took away from it is that sellers' biggest concerns right now are that they're going to be homeless or that they're not going to be able to find their next house, because not because there's nothing to sell them or not because there's nothing to buy. It's because the turnover is so incredibly fast that it's hard to keep up and it's hard to get in the game. Well, if the buyers are able to write into the offer a contingency, giving the sellers some extra time in the house after closing, well, that really helps the sellers. And in this case, that was worth $10,000 to them. So it was worth it to have that extra time in the house, have the security and the assurance that they're not going to have to go live in an RV for a couple months or whatever it is. So just keep that in mind if you're thinking about writing an offer, or if you're thinking about selling. Sometimes it is more important to get the terms that you want than it is to get that ridiculously high sales price. So, guys, if you have any questions about this stuff, whether it's buying or selling or investing, I'm happy to help in any way that I can. I do these videos because I want to bring some value to you guys. And speaking of value, if you haven't checked out my Curio House podcast, please go check it out. I'll drop a link down below in the comments or something. But I think that's a really cool podcast. We're having a blast doing it. It's like our 7th or 8th week of releasing episodes. And we release a new one every single Thursday. The idea there is just to have interesting conversations with interesting people, and it really is fun. This last one, I think it's coming out this week or next week, was Ross Langendorfer, who's actually a neighbor of mine. Super interesting guy. He was over a little later in the evening, cracked some beers, had a couple of drinks, and it was just a good conversation. So you should definitely check that one out. And if you're a local business owner, entrepreneur, or just someone that's got a cool story, you should hit me up, send me a message, because I'd love to have you on. I'd love to chat with you, get to know you a little bit more or on a personal level. And I think that's really great. So anyway, guys, as always, if there's anything I can do for you, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm always here to help. And until next time, take it easy.